Which is better, the Samsung Galaxy A51 or the LG G6? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my comparison between the Samsung Galaxy A51 and LG G6. Now, the Galaxy A51 just came out about a month ago, and currently you can buy this phone on Amazon for around $299. And the LG G6 certainly is not a new phone. It's been out for at least several years now, and I actually bought this device on Amazon as an Amazon renewed phone, and I paid just around $100 for it. So of course, when this phone was first launched, this was one of LG's flagship devices, and I don't remember what the original retail price was, but I believe it was somewhere around $700 to $800. So since then, it has gone down dramatically in price. But what I'm interested to see is how this significantly older flagship phone from LG compares to one of Samsung's latest budget offerings. And I'm curious to see if saving $200 and going with the LG G6 gives you a somewhat comparable experience to buying a brand new Samsung Galaxy A51. Now, clearly there are a lot of differences in features between these two phones, but I think once I break everything down, you might have a better idea of which route you want to take. So let's get started. So the Samsung Galaxy A51 features a 6.5-inch Infinity O display, which is Super AMOLED. It comes in at 1080p. It features a 405 ppi and has a 20:9 aspect ratio. So a very nice, new, modern design with the Galaxy A51. And it does have that kind of narrower but taller aspect ratio, which I know many people like nowadays because it makes the phone easier to hold in one hand, but at the same time, you get a very large display. Now, the LG G6, despite being an older device, features a 1440p display at 5.7 inches with a PPI of 562, which is incredible. It has a 19:9 aspect ratio, and it features LCD display technology. So AMOLED is certainly better than LCD, but you are getting 1440p with this phone instead of 1080p. And another thing too is that LG actually does a really good job with their LCD panels. And you can probably tell already, it's a very good looking display, nice and bright and vibrant. And the A51 certainly has a great looking display as well. But you can see with both devices, you really can't go wrong when it comes to display quality. Now, before anyone asks, because I get this in every video, this side cutout here is not a defect. It's not a notch either. This is the Edge apps. So that's the purpose of that little cutout there. Just wanted to let you know about that. But you can learn more about that in my full review about the Galaxy A51. Now, up top here, both phones do feature front-facing cameras. With the Galaxy A51, you're getting a 32 megapixel front-facing camera compared to a 5 megapixel front-facing camera with the LG G6. With this variant of the Galaxy A51, you're getting 128 gigabytes of internal storage with SD card expansion. And this variant of the LG G6 that I bought for around $100 from Amazon Renewed features 32 gigabytes of internal storage. But you also do get SD card expansion. So 4 times the amount of internal storage with the Galaxy A51. Now with the Galaxy A51, we have an in-screen fingerprint sensor to unlock the device, which is pretty awesome. And with the LG G6, we also have a fingerprint sensor, but it's on the backside of the device. In fact, the fingerprint sensor is also the power button. But you can see here, it's a very quick, fast, and responsive fingerprint sensor, which is great. Certainly more responsive than the one that the Galaxy A51 has built into the display. But I still think it's a nice fingerprint sensor with the A51, but it is cool to see though that we do have that feature, which you typically find more with flagship devices. Now we have multiple cameras on both devices. With the Galaxy A51, we have a quad camera setup with a 48 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. And with the LG G6, we have a 13 megapixel main camera, and a 13 megapixel ultra wide angle camera. And what's interesting is that despite the LG G6 being launched several years ago, it was one of the first devices to feature an ultra wide angle camera. And since then, that feature has made it over to pretty much every flagship device now in 2019 and 2020, but also it's making its way over to budget phones like the Galaxy A51. Now I'd like to do a demonstration here showing you the difference of the amount of content that fits in the frame with the ultra wide angle cameras in both devices. So here are the standard cameras in both devices, but then I'll switch them over to the ultra wide angle cameras. And you can see that with both phones, you can fit significantly more content into the frame. Now, something to keep in mind is that with the Samsung Galaxy A51, we get portrait mode with both the front and rear cameras, but there is no portrait mode at all with the LG G6. So if you like that feature, then you might have to look elsewhere. There are both 4 and 6 gigabyte variants of RAM for the Galaxy A51, and this LG G6 features 4 gigs of RAM. So it just depends on which configuration you end up getting as far as the RAM goes. But as far as the processors go, the Galaxy A51 features the Samsung Exynos 9611 processor, and the LG G6 has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 821. So the 800 series from Qualcomm consists of their flagship processors, of course, and then the 821 is an older flagship processor. Now with both phones, I did run an Antutu benchmark test, so I'll show you the scores right now so you can take a look at that. And with the Samsung Galaxy A51, I got an overall score of 177,594. And with the LG G6, I got a score of 167,717. So a slightly better Antutu benchmark score with the Samsung Galaxy A51, which is certainly interesting. But at the same time, the scores are pretty similar overall. Now with the Galaxy A51, you get 4K video recording, and you also get 4K video recording with the LG G6, which is pretty awesome. With the Samsung Galaxy A51, we're getting a beefy 4,000 milliamp hour internal battery, and with the LG G6, we're getting a 3,300 milliamp hour internal battery. So 600 milliamp hours less with the LG G6 compared to the Galaxy A51. Now the Galaxy A51 features Android 10, the most up-to-date and latest version of Android, paired up with Samsung's One UI 2.0. So pretty awesome there. And the LG G6, at least my LG G6, has Android 8 Oreo. Now I believe when the phone was first launched, it featured Android Nougat, and I believe some people have gotten Pie, so they've gotten Android 9 Pie, but my phone has not gotten that update. I'm not sure why. I need to look deeper into that as to why, but I hope I get it soon. But I did also install Nova Launcher here on the G6 because I'm not a big fan of LG's skin on this device, but thankfully with Nova Launcher, you get a pretty close to stock experience here, and the UI overall does run very quickly. Of course, once you get into the settings, that's all LG skin, but I don't mind that. It's mostly LG's stock launcher that I'm not a big fan of. Now, if you're curious which security patches these two devices are running, we have the December 1st, 2019 security patch on the Galaxy A51. And at the time of me recording this video, we're getting towards the end of January of 2020. So there is a January security patch that this phone has not gotten yet. So a little disappointing for a new device like this. But with the LG G6, the device has not gotten a security patch since August 1st of 2018. So a very long time there. So a bit disappointing that LG doesn't at least give us security patches into the long term with their flagship phones. I understand not giving us the latest version of Android every time it comes out, but at least give us the security patches so that the devices can be as secure as possible. Now, I have no idea what vulnerabilities you're opened up to with an older security patch like on the G6, but there's certainly nothing wrong with having the latest and most up-to-date security patch. But as you can see, you're getting a significantly larger display, no doubt, with the Galaxy A51. You're getting a much better screen-to-body ratio as well, with very small bezels throughout. I really like this Infinity O style here with the hole punch for the front-facing camera because that's really the best of all worlds. I'd rather have this than a water drop notch, and I don't mind having a pop-up front-facing camera like we've seen on other devices like the Bold N1 and OnePlus 7 Pro, but I also appreciate the simplicity of just having a little tiny dot there on the display. But you can see when you line up the bottoms of the two displays, the A51's display is just way larger overall, which is going to make this phone better for content consumption. Now, taking a look at the hardware of the two phones, the Galaxy A51 has a plastic band that's reflective running around the sides of the phone, but we get a metal band with the LG G6. Now, on the left side of the Galaxy A51, we just have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card, and on the LG G6, we just have the volume buttons. Then on the right side of the two phones, on the Galaxy A51, we have the power button and volume button. And then on the right side of the LG G6, we just have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. Then taking a look at the top of the two devices, they both have the noise canceling microphone. And with the LG G6, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack. And then on the bottom of the two phones, they both have the speaker, they both have the microphone, they both have the USB-C port for charging and data transfer. And then with the Galaxy A51, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack on the bottom. I certainly prefer to have the 3.5mm headphone jack in the bottom versus the top. It just works better with the way that I use that port, but some people I know might prefer it on the top, and if that's the case, go with the LG G6. And then taking a look at the back sides of these two devices, there's some pretty major differences. Of course, with both phones, we have the camera module, and then with the Galaxy A51, it's a very minimalist design with nothing else on the back besides the Samsung logo. But I'm a big fan of this prism blue color. I think it looks really sharp. It's really bright and vibrant. And I like the way that the LG G6 looks on the back, but it is kind of just a boring charcoal gray color. And then we have the fingerprint sensor on the back as well. And again, this fingerprint sensor doubles as a power button. Let's now do a basic speed test comparison between these two devices. So first, we're going to pull up the camera. So 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like the A51 was first to pull up the camera. Next, we're going to pull up Google Chrome. So 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like the Galaxy A51 was first to pull up Google Chrome. Next, we're going to pull up Engadget. 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like the LG G6 was first to pull up Engadget, but the Galaxy A51 was not too far behind. Now you can see here in this side-by-side, it's pretty impressive how much more content is able to fit in the display on the Galaxy A51. Of course, that's not a surprise at all since it is a larger display, but you can hardly even see the second article with the LG G6, but you can see it decently well with the Galaxy A51. Another thing to keep in mind too are the colors on the displays of both devices. So both phones have the brightness cranked up to 100%. But the Galaxy A51 certainly has the clearer, better looking colors of the two, and that certainly has to do with it having a Super AMOLED display. Another thing I like about the Galaxy A51 is that Samsung tuned down the saturation a little bit compared to their other devices that they've put out in the past, so the colors are fantastic on here. So scrolling is actually very smooth on both phones, so that's really awesome. Glad to see that. So both devices are excellent for web browsing. You can zoom in really easily on both phones. Of course, you are getting that 1440p resolution with the LG G6, which could make it better if you want to do reading. Maybe you have an ebook on the device. Things will certainly be a bit crisper with the G6 in comparison. But then again, the A51 does have the larger display of the two. Let's go to this link. 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like the G6 was a little bit quicker at pulling up that article. And again, you can see right here, you can't even see any of the article in this frame with the G6. But with the Galaxy A51, you can see 4 different lines of that article right there. And that's before you even have to scroll down at all. So it's a better device for consuming content just because the display is larger. Now, you have to remember too, even though the Galaxy A51 does have the better screen-to-body ratio overall, it is a bigger device in general. So it's going to be taking up more space in your pocket, no doubt, compared to the LG G6. So you're going to have to make that decision to see if it's best for you to go with this device or go with a smaller phone, whether it's the G6 or something else. Now, I've noticed in my comments section on many of my videos, when I show different Amazon renewed devices, people are concerned with the battery life that you're going to be getting with the device. And that doesn't have anything to do with the battery capacity. It's because if a device has previously been used and then it was refurbished and then became a renewed phone, the battery has likely already gotten quite a bit of use from the previous owner. Now, that's certainly a legitimate concern, absolutely. And it really just depends, because sometimes some of the devices being sold renewed are phones that were just returned briefly after being opened up and used for the first time. So the device has hardly been used in real life, but then other phones have been used for an extended period of time and then were refurbished. So I know for this phone, at least, it's in excellent condition. There's no signs of it really being used. So I would expect that this LG G6 that I have was a device that was returned by somebody, just because it seems completely new as far as the way it looks, but you might not get quite as lucky with the renewed LG G6 that you buy. So it just depends, really. And if you want to play it safe, if you want a device with a brand new fresh battery, then go for the A51, go for a brand new phone. But keep in mind, you're going to be paying a premium. And certainly in this head-to-head here, the A51 is better than the G6 in pretty much every category, including that benchmark score. I would say, yeah, if you can afford the A51, go for it. But the point of this video was to give you an idea of how much behind the G6 might be in comparison to the A51, especially considering that it is $200 less at the moment. And it seems like overall, the renewed LG G6 certainly delivers a lot of value. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Check out the links in the video description if you want to learn more about these phones. This is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next video.